Folks, welcome back to the channel. Really do appreciate you being here. This is another episode of the Get Wide podcast. And today what we're actually doing is, probably can't see that well, but I've got a big tub of phones here. I've actually got 3 of these. These are banana boxes. I've got 3 of these and I just figured I'm just gonna sort them into the different categories while we have a bit of a chat. So this is gonna be off the cuff. I haven't really planned for anything. Things have been pretty busy, hectic, but you know, there's a bit of good in there, there's a bit of bad in there as well, just life and everything in between. But if you are new here, these episodes, usually I'm cutting wires, that's why it's called Get Wired, and use that for some scrap. But it's also just a chance to kind of hang out with you guys, answer any questions, and talk about certain things in the reselling and business space, or what's on my mind and the things that I'm experiencing. Last week we did do a controversial topic of we were talking about washing your clothing before sending it out, which, to much surprise, that blew up in terms of there was a lot of people that did not like it. There was a lot of people that agreed with it. There was a lot of people that obviously are doing it very different for their business, and that's okay, right? Like, I mean, it's just interesting to get people's thoughts and perspectives on all of that. One thing that did frustrate me a little bit is things got a little bit personal in some of the comments to some people, which was just not on, folks. Like, I'm all open for conversation and coming here and, you know, let's learn and share and talk about different and wonderful ideas. But as soon as you start getting rude with other people because you don't like their opinions or opinions don't match yours, that's when it gets a bit dodgy, right? I mean, I don't understand why some people do certain things, but just because I don't like it or don't understand it doesn't mean I don't let their opinion come out. Everyone's allowed to kind of have their say and share, and I'm happy with that. But when people start getting a bit rude to others, I'm not going to let that fly. And there was some people's comments. Well, I didn't delete them, but I believe they were reported and they were deleted either by eBay or maybe the person decided not to keep them there anymore. Nonetheless, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to kind of just hang out and chill. We're going to be just sorting all these phones. And one of the topics that's on my mind at the moment, and it's been obviously very clear in my videos over the last couple of weeks, that things have been pretty down on eBay. And I think it's a good topic to really, you know, revisit around what do we do when sales are down? What do we do when things aren't going to where we want them to be? I think the first thing we need to really do is actually just make sure we understand what is the situation. Now, we did grow in the last 90 days. We grew 10%, like from a revenue perspective. So all things considered, is it really that bad? Not really. And that's why when you do that, you can start to realize, okay, what is the actual problem that's going on? The problem is that I'm just not keeping that momentum. And that could have been for a number of reasons. You know, it might have been circumstantial, it might have been seasonal, all these different things. But the fact of the matter is like, we did have some low weeks there, which were a bit of a challenge. And with those challenges creates sometimes a little bit of stress and sometimes a little bit of worry. Now, if you're here a full-timer, a part-timer, maybe you don't even do eBay, but if you're selling something online and you want to learn about it, look, I'm not here to tell you how to run your business. I'm not here to answer all your questions in terms of solve all your problems. I will answer any questions you have and do my best to try and provide a perspective and some insight. But if I don't know, like, I'm not going to, try and make you think I do know, because there's a lot that I'm still learning. So what do we do when things aren't going to plan or we're not getting enough sales? Well, I can tell you what I'm doing. I'm charging on regardless. And I think this is where I've seen it over the last 4 or 5 years. I've been reselling for 5 years. It will be 5 years in January. This is my 5th year doing it. But I've seen it so much that people come into this world of reselling, they think they've got it all figured out or it's going to be easy, simply because, you know, there's a lot of stuff on the internet. Hence, you know, a lot of people doing content like myself and plenty of others. And we do share our journeys and we show what is possible. And they don't really go into it with their original maybe intention of like, I want to make this into something of my own. They've kind of just seen it as they want to get money out of it, right? Which I totally respect. I mean, I want to get money out of it too. But it's not their, it's not their passion, it's not their love, it's not their joy. And unfortunately, when things get tough, it's very easy to see these people drop off. And they tend to disappear or, get out of reselling, and which is fair enough because it's not for everyone. And it's a lot of hard work. So, and it's then when it comes to tough times, like what I've been experiencing in the last couple of weeks, with sales down and cash flow down and a lot of things down, we have to decide, what are we going to do to make it different? Now, there's a number of things we can do. We can just charge on and do nothing and expect it to get better. That's one thing that you can do. I think one thing you do need to do is you need to charge on and keep being consistent, and do not lose momentum or be deflated because you're just having a bad day, week, month, or whatever. The other thing we need to look at is, okay, well then we start to need to look at the facts. Now, as I said, though we're down, it says we're down, it actually hasn't been that bad because we're still up over the month. Over the 90 days. However, my motto is I don't want to get complacent on this stuff. I do not want to, just think, yeah, it will fix itself, it's going to be all good. You want to be on the forefront of that. My job as owner, director, and team leader is I want to make sure that I'm making sure the business is headed in the right direction, not only just for our customers, not only just for myself, but for my team, because they're the ones that I'm paying, and they're the ones that are also getting a satisfaction and a level of purpose out of this and enjoyment. So I have a responsibility to make sure that we can continue to do that. We don't have shareholders or anything like that, but at the end of the day, I like to treat the business as if I'm reporting back and trying to continuously grow it. So we got to look at the facts and understand, well, what's been going on. So even though sales have only started to drop off in the last couple of weeks and it's been down, I'm still not going to sit around and just expect it to get better. I'm going to start to look at and say, okay, customers are wanting to buy stuff cheaper. What are customers actually wanting to buy? What has changed in the ecosystem? What has changed in the environment of eBay? Now, one of the big things that have recently changed is the whole changes to USA, and now posting there is a bit of a challenge, and I'm not here to give you a guide on all that, but at the moment we're not sending to USA intentionally until I've got that matter 100% resolved. I am going to be testing that out over the coming week or so. I've got a plan of maybe how I can make that work for our business and trying to give that a go. So that's one thing that I've been assessing on. And then other assessments is like, okay, so why aren't people buying? Is it seasonal? Is it the timing of the year? And some of it is, like we are coming up to Q4, so people have been holding back on spending, which totally respect. But also it's like, what else is going on that, there's no phone on that one. What else has been going on? And, is it the market? Is it, I don't know, right? And that's really what I've been diving into. And then it's also like, okay, what seasons are we coming into? What can I start, listing to really boost the business? Now, we haven't had e-waste for 3 weeks. We got this yesterday, 400 kilos of it. So this means we can really start to, get back on to lost revenue because we haven't had this for a few weeks. And there's probably about, there must be about 300 phones, 400 phones that we got out of this because there's one banana box and still got 3 more. So, that's going to help us get back into where we want to be. So there's a lot of things that we can do. Now, I think any great driver for success is consistency. And people, there's 2 things we have to think about. It's like, when something's working, you want to do more of that, of what's working to, keep it having an occurrence. But at the same time, it's like we can't just expect that doing the same thing over and over again is always going to get you the same results that you've had all the time, because there's constant things changing. And that's why I'm always I'm not trying to create chaos for the sake of creating chaos, but I'm always trying to push my limits, push my ability to grow. And the best way to grow is to put yourself in positions where you are forced to grow, that you have to do things that make better and bigger changes. Because under friction and pressure, that's where you're able to, I believe, where we thrive our best, because we cut out all the crap, we cut out all the fat, and we're able to just like, okay, this is what needs to happen. Because it's kind of like, you get into your survival instinct kind of mode. And that's all you can choose to do is like, okay, do this because it's going to get me the best outcome as quickly as possible. And that's what I like, because it really forces us to operate in a different world. It's kind of like the book, like, what is it? The 12-week year. And it means you're just doing everything a lot quicker. And people, we tend to drag things out for the sake of dragging things out. And if you have pressure and a timeline, it starts to get a bit more serious, a bit more quicker, and you can start to put your money where your mouth is a lot quicker as well. But you'll start to see results for that very, very quickly. I'm just going to grab the other box. So that's my thinking behind it. Give me a second. Oh, geez. This is the next banana box. Jeez, there's cameras in here too. So that's what I'm doing. I'm charging on regardless, but I'm constantly looking to see how we can adapt. So we've been doing, you can't even see me, we've been doing a lot of whatnots and just changing that up. I'm also looking at a few other things that probably won't occur this year, but looking at it for next year of like, what else can I put into the business that builds a bit more of a moat for when we have those dips? Because I've got a lot of overheads, and yes, I know a lot of people think it's ridiculous of how much expenses I have and all that. But one day people will realize this is the way to scale a business, because I don't want to be at max capacity myself, constantly grinding away. I'd rather have it flowing, easy, less stress, and me not having to be doing everything. Of course, the money can create stress as well. But I think in the long run that just pays for itself. So anyway, I digress. So yeah, been thinking about a few things that I want to bring into the business and expand into to bring better prosperity into the business, and finding those new opportunities that will help us get into, I guess, new levels of revenue, maybe some parallel or adjacent, customer bases. And it's very easy to say all this stuff, but execution is where it gets. You've got to do a lot of work for this. There's a lot of planning, a lot of thinking. There's options of obviously going the cross-listing route. There's options of building your own. Oh, that iPad's absolutely knackered. Building your own, Shopify store. There's those kind of things. There's so many different ways we can operate in the current market landscape, and what works for you or what works for me is going to be very different always, because no one's really doing exactly the same thing. We all have our different ways of working, we all have our different plans and goals, and I think that's something that we all need to make sure we consider, that just because it might not work for you or it doesn't make sense for you, you might be a short-term player or you might be a long-term player, so that doesn't kind of align to where you're trying to position yourself or head towards in terms of goals and aspirations. And I think that's something that really needs to be considered when you're making decisions anyway. That's something definitely that needs to be taken into account. So what else can we do? The other thing I'm obviously starting to look at is like, okay, where can we save costs? Because we've been doing a lot of volume now, and when you have volume, you can start to look, well, so we did 1,500 sales last month. I can look at, well, if I can save, 50 cents per order somehow, that's going to save me $750. Or if we can get, a better speed to market and get those things listed quicker, maybe I can save some time, or we can get turnaround of cash flow quicker. So looking at it from that perspective, when you're selling 10 items, and, you're trying to save, 50 cents on them, I mean, sure, it adds up, but it's not going to be the game changer. But now that we're doing a lot more volume, I need to start to look at things a lot more differently, and really start to consider what else can we do. Just making sure that I'm bringing in the correct amount of cash flow and revenue into the business to cover expenses, to enable us to continue to grow, and also, for better investments and things like that. So lots of moving pieces. It's definitely something which, well, it's not keeping me up at night, but it keeps me honest, that's for sure. So yeah, that's what my thinking is. I would love to hear from you guys. Like, what are you doing to continuously improve your business? What are you doing when things get slow? What are you doing when things aren't going as you expected? What's your go-to methods? How do you start to, I guess, strategize? How do you start to plan? How do you start to make ways so you can avoid these situations in the future? Now, I've been through many low moments in our business, and I'm thinking, how are we going to do this? What am I going to do? But things have always turned around. Obviously, with doing execution and, whether it's doing some wholesale and finding additional opportunities through revenue. But, the thing is, you can't sit around and wait for those things to occur. You need to be on the forefront of building out, how do we make this grow? How do we continuously push the needle in the right direction? And, really, you could be as drastic as like, hey, I could say, you know what? I could say I could fire everyone, just go back to bare basics and do it all myself, right? And some businesses will do that. Like that's the way they have to do to thrive. That is obviously not my intention and obviously not the route I want to take. But there is the liquidity of being able to do that. Like there's plenty of options, but it really comes down to what are you trying to build and create? Because if I can't make it work, at this scale, then how do I expect it to make it work at a larger scale? And that's something which is obviously the potentially the $1 million question, because there's that saying from Alex Hormozi, it's not that you don't know how to make $1 million, but it's like it's costing you, like, so for instance, if you make $50,000 a year, it's costing you $950,000 not being able to make $1 million. So therefore, if you could spend $100,000 and make $1 million, well, you're still winning because you've actually, you've saved in doing so. But it's not as simple as like, oh yeah, just go spend $100,000 and all your problems are solved. That's not the way it works, that's for sure. But the mentality is like, we have to keep building that out to see those results. And that's really my intention of doing this, of continuously spending, building, making it better, finding better ways of doing things, improving the team, upskilling the team, developing the systems, the processes, all the things that we need to have the business constantly growing and constantly thriving. That's my mentality about it and approach. We've got one more. Let me just grab it. Jeez, this is a lot. This is the most phones I think we've ever had at once, and iPads, which is pretty good because we definitely needed it. Going to reach out to my customers this afternoon and tell them we've got a lot of stock coming and getting them lined up and ready for it. It's always a fun process to be able to have them ready to just buy, at a moment's notice. So, all these different things. So last month we did expand to another person that's buying stock off me. Trying to lock in more of those deals. Had someone interested. I've got someone interested in books at the moment, but we don't really get a lot of books. But always constantly trying to build that networking repository of whether it's business to business relationships, friends, colleagues, peers, other businesses, helping them solve problems, and trying to achieve their goals and dreams as well. That is really where you can start to make a lot of money if you're able to help make that happen for them. And you're making money out of it because they're willing to pay. Because, again, if you can spend $500 and it makes you $10,000, I'm just talking hypothetically, why wouldn't you do it, kind of thing. So that's really the mentality we want to be looking at, the value that we're adding to our customers, to our peers, and to our, even to our competitors, right? So I have my listing service, Pro List Assist, which has been a great service to add additional revenue to the business. It's not really linked to my business. It's in partnership with my lister, John. He's my business partner for that, and he's also my call lister for my business. But that was a nice addition. So continuously finding more ideas that we can do around that to help other people be successful in this space. I've spoken about doing some mentorship as well, which I've just, again, haven't really focused because, those things take time to get it right, but also I haven't prioritized it because it hasn't been my priority. Pretty simple. But there's all those different things that we can do. And there's nothing wrong with getting a mentor and getting help from other people. I try to bring as much help for free here on the channel, but sometimes it's that one-on-one support and the ability to sit down, go through something, break down the numbers, understand what's happening, what needs to happen, and share, the advice or experience that I've had over the last 5 years, opposed to you having to go spend 5 years to figure it out. That's really what you're paying for when it comes to mentorships and things like that, is you're not paying for someone's time that's their worth in the moment, but for the time that they've developed, the experience they've developed over a longer period of time. So yeah, look, this is really all I kind of wanted to talk about today. Pretty chilled. I'd love to hear your thoughts. My encouragement is, like, when times get tough, you gotta look to see what else can you do, right? And it's not about doing more, but it's about looking at things from a different perspective, because when we're under pressure, we tend to identify and find new opportunities, because we start to think in different ways, because we're having to get into survival mode opposed to just rinse and repeat mode. Right? And then that can become a repository to your business, another asset, another offering, and you start to compound on that, and then it just becomes a normal thing that you do. Geez, we've got a lot of Samsungs, not as many iPhones, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. I do have a Samsung buyer, and we've got a lot of mixed types as well. That one's got a dodgy battery, that's gonna have to go away. So yeah, appreciate you all being here. Thanks for hanging out, taking the time. A bit of a, like I said, not really planned kind of conversation, just wanted to jump in off the cuff, share my mind, share my thoughts. We're not giving up, we're not slowing down. We will continue to build and ride that roller coaster ride of reselling online and build the business into whatever it needs to be to make it the best version of itself. It's kind of like what we need to do for ourselves. When you feel like you're getting comfortable, or when things aren't going to plan, what do you need to do to become the next version of yourself, the better version of yourself? And sometimes people don't like to have to deal with that, because it's scary. I get it. It is. It's scary. It's confronting. It's uncomfortable. But if you do it, you can grow, and it can be very, very rewarding. So that's me, folks. I'm trying to get this done so I can show you what we got in here. Oh, there's a red one. Show you what we've got left over once I finish this. So I'm just waffling to try and get this done in time so you can see what it looks like. All the Samsungs, all the iPhones, and all the other phones in between. Lots of Samsungs, geez. Be interesting to see what models all of these are in comparison to the market, and see what they're worth at the moment, because there is a lot of the same. Always interesting why certain models come in at the same time as well, whether it's an end of line type of model, or is it just, I don't know, I'm not 100% sure. So yeah, it is what it is. All right, we're almost done. These are all other phones. Don't really necessarily need these for what I want to show you. All right, so this is where we've landed. That's everything. And I'll clean those ones up afterwards. All right, so we've got, don't know if you can see this really well. We've got all of these, which are just mixed ones again. So these aren't like your iPhones and Samsung. That's all Samsung, that's all Apple. Got Samsung and iPads, a couple of Pixels in there as well, and some cameras. So that's kind of it, folks. Appreciate you hanging out. Look, if you want to continue the conversation, more than happy to do so. If you've got a question or a thought, but remember, just be nice with other people. Not everyone has the same opinion. Not everyone will agree with you. I probably won't agree with you. Doesn't mean I don't respect and don't want your messages. Just remember, before you put a message or a comment, make sure it's not going to be read as directed at someone. Let's not attack someone. Let's attack the problem, right? I can't believe I'm explaining this as a bunch of adults here. Anyway, appreciate you all. Take it easy, be kind, and we'll be back here again next week doing it all again.